With a population of over 300 million people, representing 1/3 of Africa's population, the western part of Africa presents a unique opportunity for sustainable growth across all sectors. There are numerous factors that impede or slow down this growth. In many cases, the limiting factors include unemployment, maternal mortality, poor education, and many more. At the heart of all the limiting factors is gender inequality. Many times when societies suffer, women and girls pay the biggest price. The situation is exactly the same in the western part of Africa, where millions of women and young girls do not have the power to make their choices that will help them lead a healthy and productive life.
My name is Jumoke Adiefa. I'm 22 years. I got pregnant in my secondary school level, so I dropped out. So things was difficult for me because I have to feed my daughter and I. So I dropped out to learn a trade, which is fashion designer. It is very difficult for me to get a job from those big shops because they won't employ a person that has a baby. They would rather prefer a female that has no baby or a man. I've been trying to raise money to buy some machine to set up a standard shop. I hope one day I will be able to set up my own shop to raise up my child and to be the best mother to my child.
My name is Judith Matthew. I'm 20 years old. I met my husband when I was in my final year in secondary school. Growing up, my dream is to become a lawyer. But I have no opportunity to become the lawyer because I would like to take care of my baby and support my husband. And I've talked to my husband about it, about going back to school. But my husband said he have no money to support me to go back to school. I've lost my hope that I will not become that lawyer again.
Young women who make up to 12% of the world population are confronted with numerous challenges that undermine their right to education, access to health services, and suitable employment. Lack of access to this basic right can often have lifelong consequences for young women, decreasing their ability to achieve their potential.
My name is Mary Eden. I have 3 children, 2 girls and 1 boy. I am 22 years old. I'm hairdresser. Since I married, I stopped my work. But now, I won't stop to born now. Make I hustle to support my husband and my children. My problem is say my husband still needs children. The hospital where they go is still far. And the hospital, they know tell us what we go use to the stop to the born. Even that condom and they talk. I know they see him to buy. Even my husband said, no like him.
What pains me most is that what I've seen for the past 60 years of my experience in life is that girls, when they don't have access to school, they are dropouts. They can no longer continue their education. So they sell off their potentials their dream cannot be accomplished. When boys come and meet them, they sell off their futures, they sell off their dreams, and we don't know, some of them even die because they are not matured enough to be pregnant. Many, they don't have access to health care. Some don't even know what we call antenatal care. They don't have jobs. Men deceive them and ruin their lives.
When women and girls are empowered to make the right choices, our society will remain happy, healthy, and productive.
Hello, good morning, everyone. How are we doing today? I hope we've been good. So good morning again, and welcome to the 2021 HACEY Health Initiative, Women Officer HACEY Health Initiative. The International Women's Day is a day celebrated annually, and it's a global day dedicated to acknowledging and celebrating the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women all over the world. The day also provides an opportunity to reflect on progress made, call for change, and celebrate women for their extraordinary roles in their host communities, workplaces, and the country at large. This year, the International Women's Day themed Women in Leadership, Achieving an Equal Future, girls around the world in the COVID-19 world. We're pleased to announce to you that some of these women are here with us today as our guest speakers. Yes, so we have some of these women that have made positive impacts in the world, in their environment, their host communities, here with us today to speak on some of the issues that women and girls face around the world. But before I introduce the speakers, I would like to go through a few housekeeping items, and this is just to ensure a seamless flow of events and make sure we all have a great time today. So for this presentation webinar, all participants will be muted, and this is to allow us focus on our speakers. Also, strong webinar available on our website, and that is www.hacey.org. So without wasting much of your time, I would like to introduce some of our speakers today, and some amazing women. So today we'll be having Omobolanle Laniyan, Head of Sustainability, Access Bank. We'll also be having Osayi Alile, Chief Executive Officer, Aspire Connection Trust Foundation. We'll also be having with us Jumoke Akinyele, Deputy Director of Business North Arc Communication Limited. And also, last but not the least, we'll be having Fabia Ogunmekan, Executive Director, Women in Successful Career, Whisker. You would agree with me, we have an amazing lineup of women. And I'm already excited and bubbling to hear what they say, to tap into their wealth of knowledge and wisdom, because these women have gone far. These women have thrived in the male-dominated world. These women have fought adversary in different shapes and forms, and I'm excited to learn from them today and hear what they have to say to us. And I'm sure that you're excited as well. So I want you to all focus, make sure we get the best today. So going forward, start kicking off with the webinar. I would like to introduce the Executive Director, HACEY Health Initiative, Rhoda Robinson, for her keynote remark. But before I introduce her, I would just like to read her bio. Rhoda Robinson is founder and Executive Director of HACEY Health Initiative, an accomplished development practitioner with over 13 years experience and successful track record in developing and implementing high-impact interventions towards solving current developmental challenges and achieving the goal of a healthy and sustainable society. She's a gender expert with primary focus on gender equality and gender-based violence, working on promoting equal access to health, education, empowerment, rights for women and girls. Rhoda has formerly served as a member of the UK DFID Expert Advisory Group on Women and Girls, and worked on promoting the recognition and inclusion of the distinctive needs and gendered experience of women and young people in policies. She's a strategic leader, an experienced facilitator, on leveraging partnership and technology in amplifying development impacts. She holds a master's degree in gender and development from the Institute of Development Studies, University of Sussex, UK, and is a fellow of the Akshia Inamori Leadership Academy at Center for Strategic and International Studies, Washington, DC. Rhoda is an alumni of the Code International Institute Global Change Leaders Program and an executive member of the United States International Visitors Leadership Program alumni in Nigeria. Is currently leading a multi-year UN Trust Fund funded project on promoting effective implementation of laws and policies and positive community behavioral change to protect women and girls from female genital mutilation. Rhoda Robinson, you're welcome. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for being here with us today. I am pleased to welcome every one of you to this event commemorating the 2021 International Women's Day. I also appreciate everyone who has never missed any of the webinars hosted by HACEY Health Initiative. Thank you so much for your consistent presence in all our events. I would also like to warmly welcome our wonderful speakers, the Head of Sustainability at Access Bank Plc, Mrs. Omobolanle Laniyan, the Chief Executive Officer, Aspire Coronation Trust Foundation, Mrs. Osayi Alile, the Deputy Director of Business, Noah's Ark Communications Limited, Mrs. Jumoke Akinyele, and the Executive Director of Women in Successful Career Whisker, Mrs. Fabia Ogunmekan. These women are making their leadership presence felt in finance, entrepreneurship, media, and the development space, and are role models to emerging women leaders in our world today. It is a great privilege to have you all with us today. We would not take it for granted. The International Women's Day is a time to reflect on the progress made, to call for change, and to celebrate acts of courage and determination by ordinary women who have played an extraordinary role in history for their countries and communities. This year brings so much to reflect as their remarkable efforts and progress were made by women leaders to make their industries and sectors stand strong despite the challenges brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic. COVID-19 has also amplified the inequalities women face every day, and it's very important to have a national and global recovery plan to address all this across all sectors. There is therefore no better time than now to discuss the theme Women in Leadership, Achieving an Equal Future in the COVID-19 world. The lockdown during the pandemic curbed the virus, increased the instances of gender-based violence, of sexual and reproductive health challenges, and seriously affected the women's livelihoods and economic opportunities. A report shared by McKinsey Global Institute revealed that though women make up less than 2/5 of the global workforce, they have suffered more than half of the total job losses from this crisis. The pandemic-induced poverty surge increased the likelihood of widening the gender poverty gap, meaning that more women will be pushed into extreme poverty than men. It further increased the demand for unpaid care work, with children out of school, heightened care needs for older persons, and overwhelmed health services. The pandemic also affected intervention activities of development organizations and reduced access to much needed funding for the sustenance of the progress that we had earlier made in achieving gender equality. With all this, more women need to be in the decision-making spaces and processes where the response to the impacts of the pandemic are formed. Women's participation is necessary at every level and in every arena, from national crisis committees to the local communities on the front line of humanitarian responses. Without women's equal leadership and participation, COVID-19 responses will be less effective at meeting the needs of women and achieving an equal future. At HACEY, we are committed to improving the health and productivity of women, as well as ensuring that women's equal leadership and participation is achieved. During the heat of the pandemic, with support from our partners such as Access Bank Plc, we provided women with antenatal and postnatal care materials and information required to promote maternal and child health within the COVID pandemic. We also supported health facilities and communities with personal protective equipment required to protect them from COVID-19. We implemented strategies to ensure that women are protected from gender-based violence and at all times have access to care at the community level. Now, we always recognize the need for more women to ensure that the achievement of an equal world is achieved in our generation. And it is with this mindset that we encourage everyone to pay rapt attention to our seasoned speakers who are leaders in their diverse sectors and will be sharing with us their remarkable efforts and progress that they have made in making their industries sectors strong despite the COVID pandemic and its impact. I am confident that at the end of this webinar, we'll go home with key ideas, recommendations, and strategies that we can use to promote women's leadership across all levels, and we can use this to promote the advocacy of women's participation in every decision-making process. I would like to thank Access Bank Plc for their immense support of all our work across Nigeria and for their continued commitment to ensuring that women's unrestricted access to opportunities and support is achieved now and in the future. I'd like to thank you all once again for joining us and hope that you have a wonderful program. And moving on to the main event, I would also like to use this opportunity to introduce our keynote speaker for today, Ms. Omobolanle Laniyan, who has been a strong supporter of women's rights, women's opportunities, and women equality, and representing Access Bank Plc, who has been a trailblazer when it comes to initiatives and support for women's empowerment and women's productivity. Omobolanle has over 20 years experience in the field of sustainability and communications, spanning various industries, including manufacturing, media, and the financial sector. She applies her experience to handling sustainability-related matters, monitoring and contributing to emerging trends, communicating and educating others. She has also pioneered many notable sustainable focus initiatives, placing Nigeria and the financial sector on the global map. These initiatives include initiating and leading the development of the Nigerian Sustainability Banking Principles and being the only West African on the global team that developed the global principles for responsible banking. In 2020, as the head of sustainability at Access Bank, Omobolanle led the bank to become the first sustainability certified commercial bank in Africa under the Sustainability Standards and Certification Initiative, championed by the European Union Organization for Sustainable Development. A Multi Award winner, Omobolanle has received several professional awards, including the 2020 Award for Outstanding Female Sustainability Professionals of the Year by WIMCA, 2020 Top 50 Women in Marketing and Communications, the 2019 Genomics Award, the prestigious CEO Employee of the Year Award for 2018 at Access Bank Plc, and the most outstanding sustainability practitioner in Africa Award for 2017 and 2018 by the Sustainability Enterprise and Responsibility Award, SERAS. Omobolanle has continuously provided support in establishing partnerships with local and international organizations and networks to fund high-impact projects. These projects are aimed at accelerating the impact of interventions focused on achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. These projects have also reached millions of people and helped them lead healthy, productive, and sustainable lives. Her career journey and growth trajectory emanates from her passion for making positive impacts while working. This is very important to her and is the reason why she serves on boards of various non-profit organizations. She enjoys lending her skills, talents, and resources to initiatives that contribute to sustainable development. She is the co-chair of the Corporate Alliance on Malaria in Africa, board member of United Nations Global Compact Local Network Nigeria, the OVL Foundation, and Private Sector Health Alliance of Nigeria. She is also a member of the S&P Global Sustainable Finance Scientific Council, the Sustainability Standards and Certification Initiative Council, and the Nigerian Circular Economy Working Group. As an executive member of Access Women Network of Access Bank, Omobolanle is an advocate of youth and women empowerment. She is extremely passionate in this regard, lending a hand and pioneering initiatives that support women in a bid to accelerate gender-related goals and objectives. She is a mentor with a wide range of young females and is the chair of Women in Development and Sustainability, a not-for-profit organization which primarily utilizes mentorship and customized education to support the development of women while maximizing their potential. Omobolanle holds a BSc in mass communication and an MSc in sociology, both from the University of Lagos, Nigeria. She also holds a Chartered Banker MBA from Prifysgol Bangor University in UK. Additionally, she has received management and leadership training at the leading institutes such as Wharton Business School, London Business School, and the University of Edinburgh. Omobolanle is a fellow of the Institute of Corporate Responsibility and Sustainability UK, a fellow of the National Institute of Marketing of Nigeria, member of the International Society for Sustainability Professionals, and member of the S&P Global Sustainable Finance Scientific Council. She is also a member of the judging panel at the pioneering Adam Smith Panmure House Prize. It gives me great pleasure to introduce this wonderful, great, passionate woman, Mrs. Omobolanle Victor Laniyan, as our keynote speaker. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Rhoda, and it's a pleasure to be here and to be a part of this very wonderful initiative by HACEY Health. I'm not quite sure which is longer, the profile you read or my keynote speech, but without taking much of our time, I would just like to go straight into the prepared speech. I would like to recognize fellow speakers, Fabia, Osayi, Rhoda herself, and to say that I'm very delighted to be on this platform with you all. You ladies are doing very great work, and I would like to encourage you to continue in this very good direction and good path that you've set, not just for yourself, but creating a platform to support, lead, and encourage other women. It is a pleasure to have this opportunity to give the keynotes on this day in commemoration of International Women's Day. First of all, I would like to commend HACEY Health Initiative for its efforts in recognizing, supporting, and creating opportunities for women in our society. This clearly aligns with the goals of Access Bank, where I work. I also commend HACEY for bringing together women of substance that are not only leaders in their various fields, but have made very remarkable contributions to other women, providing a platform for the growth and development of women in society. The theme of this year's International Women's Day reveals the real essence of challenging biases and embracing the undeniable value that women bring to the table. Women have proven to produce phenomenal outcomes in challenging situations and effectively utilizing their higher capacities to balance risk and their resilience to bounce back from disasters. So last year, we all marked the 25th anniversary of the adoption of Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action, which was in 1995. It's a visionary global agenda for achieving women's equal participation in all areas of life. More girls are going to school now. Fewer girls are forced into early marriage. More women are serving in parliament and positions of leadership, and laws are being reformed to advance gender equality. Indeed, over the past quarter century, women's influence over many facets of public life has increased significantly. We now see women entering into politics, even in greater numbers than ever before, and the influence over high-level decision-making has been growing. Women's full and equal participation has also been recognized as essential for achieving the very popular Sustainable Development Goals, otherwise known as the SDGs. As women bring different experiences and perspectives, talents and skills to the table, their contribution to better informed decisions, more just outcomes, and policies and laws that work for both women and men is increasingly being accepted. However, despite many of all of these advances or progresses that we've made towards gender equality in the past few decades, our progress has been slow because we still have quite a lot of discriminatory laws and social norms that remain pervasive. Women continue to be underrepresented at all levels of political leadership, and 1 in 5 women and girls between the ages of 15 and 49 report experiencing physical or sexual violence by an intimate partner within a 12-month period. This is quite sad indeed. Inequality of access is also a very major concern. Globally, nearly 40% of women in wage employment are estimated to lack access to social protection. Women are less likely than men to have access to financial institutions or even to have a bank account. Although women-owned enterprises represent more than 30% of registered businesses worldwide, only about 10% of women entrepreneurs actually have the capital they need to grow their businesses. The remaining are just going round and round in circles without the relevant support. Additionally, the 2020 Global Gender Gap Report, published by the World Economic Forum, indicates that there is still a 31.4% average gender gap that remains to be closed as men continue to dominate the global workforce. At the current rate of change, this global gender gap that we are all aware of will not close for another 100 years if we continue at this rate. Now, COVID-19 pandemic is clearly aggravating the economic inequalities faced by women. A new study suggests that the COVID-19 pandemic will have a disproportionate negative effect on women and their employment opportunities. The effects of this shock are likely to outlast the actual epidemic in itself. It is therefore no longer news that COVID-19 has deepened pre-existing inequalities and exposed vulnerabilities in economic systems with more women than men at the receiving end. Nevertheless, as the fight against COVID-19 continues, an increasing number of women around the world are on the front lines, bravely taking the lead and helping to promote health and wellness for everyone, despite facing a large amount of unpaid care work in caring for children and their families. The COVID-19 pandemic might have caught us all by surprise, but it has also revealed the truth about the potentials of women to respond as leaders, exhibiting the intelligence, creativity, improvisation, and intuition required to thrive in uncertain times. The COVID-19 pandemic, which has, resulted in a loss of over 1 million lives, has placed a great demand on leadership all over the world, testing the strengths and resilience of leaders in reducing the negative impacts of the pandemic. A research carried out by Ohio State University to determine if women are more effective leaders than men in a crisis revealed that the female governors possess the creativity, empathy, and confidence needed to thrive in a pandemic as compared to their male counterparts. Women can show awareness of their followers' feelings and acknowledge the emotional challenges they face. They are also able to confidently make corrections without overreacting or paralyzing the operations with doubts. Additionally, the research revealed that women are less likely than men to take mistakes and failures personally, thereby increasing their ability to maintain confidence amidst challenges or adversity. Therefore, on this occasion of the International Women's Day, I want to challenge every woman to embrace leadership. We all should collaborate and provide solutions to challenges in our spheres of influence. As women, and more importantly, as leaders, we hold the solution to a lot of the problems faced in human development today. We need to influence policies and challenge the status quo with a higher level of intelligence required to bring a change in our experience by joining forces with other visionary leaders to demand for change and demand for more. I'll give you a few examples around Access Bank. At Access Bank, we have a high representation of women on our board, which no doubt contributes to the success of the organization. We have a high representation in management and of course amongst employees. The level of insights that women prefer helps to keep the organization at the forefront of innovation and sustainable development. We have also formed alliances with various organizations to deliver long-term positive impacts for all stakeholders and the general public. Over the years, we have worked with civil society organizations, social enterprises, and we complement government efforts to accelerate the impact of interventions focused on improving women's health and productivity. At Access Bank, we have financing programs focused on ensuring women everywhere can live to their full potential. Through our women-centered projects, we have reached thousands and millions of women with healthcare and economic empowerment projects aimed at improving their lives and securing their health. Quite a number of our impact projects are also done through our partner not-for-profit organization, Aspire Coronation Trust, ACT, for which we have Osayi, the CEO, also as a speaker here today. Some of our collaborative female-focused initiatives for women in community are in partnership with HACEY Health. So at this point, I would like to say that we have a three-pronged approach within the bank to impact women. So we focus on women in community, women in the marketplace who are our customers and women doing business, and then women in the workplace, which speaks to staff and employees of the bank and other working class women. Some of the examples of our women in community partnerships with HACEY Health include the Back on Track program, which supports women and girls to overcome setbacks, acquire skills, and build new businesses that help them uplift their families. This intervention alone has empowered over 5,000 women and girls from underserved communities with vocational skills and scholarships and really redirected them on a path towards achieving a sustainable future. We also have worked to reduce the number of women who die during childbirth via our maternal health program in selected communities across the 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria. We have provided community birth attendants with birth kits to help women deliver their babies in a healthier and safer environment. With respect to STEM, we have invested in building female solar entrepreneurs who can benefit from the sustainable energy value chain, while also investing in the Code for Impact program, which is raising female software developers. This program on its own has reached over 10,000 women and girls with information and skills on how to build successful STEM careers, with some of them already becoming tech experts in organizations, while others have started their own businesses. Additionally, for our impact with respect to women in marketplace, we pioneered the W initiative, which provides solutions that will enhance the lives of women across all life stages and increase their participation in the global economy. Through this initiative, we have provided over 12 million female customers with access to offerings specifically tailored to meet their personal and business needs. We also provide access to financial grants up to $14,000 and capacity building through the annual mini MBA in partnership with the IFC to 50 graduates under the Womenpreneur Pitchathon. Our W Academy has organized over 103 women-focused programs that has reached over 128,000 women with 71 capacity building and networking sessions for over 3,597 women. Access Bank has also successfully financed over 105 families across Nigeria, Ghana, and Rwanda for medical procedures ranging from IVF treatments, pre- and postnatal care, as well as other specialized procedures in excess of 146 million naira through a maternal health support scheme. Also, over 50 babies have been born through the scheme, as well as successful infant bone surgeries and fibroid treatments. For examples of what we do with respect to women in the workplace, we have our internal network, known as the Access Women Network, and Osayi as well is a leadership member of the Access Women Network. So we all work together to continue to support, develop, promote, and retain female employees in the bank. We organize various mentorship programs, webinars, capacity building sessions, free breast cancer screening for women, free makeup training sessions. We, in the face of COVID, we launched the Make a Family Happy project to raise funds to feed 500 families. And we continue to organize the Orange Lecture in the fight against domestic violence in partnership with Genesis House, our NGO partner, amongst other programs wherein we're having mentorship and leadership programs. We also have the Access Women Network Toastmasters Club, which is very active. Given all of our various efforts, we've won many, many notable awards in recognition of the efforts in driving development of women in the workplace, in the marketplace, and in the communities across Africa. And so the bank is a proud recipient of many awards, including National Women in Finance Magazine Outstanding Banking Initiative Award, the Global Banking Alliance Women's Market Champion Award, the Central Bank of Nigeria Excellence in Women Economic Empowerment Award, WIMCA's Female Friendly Bank of the Year, National Council for Women's Society in Nigeria, award for dedication to women entrepreneurship, amongst a wide range of others. The examples I've cited are just a few of the many high impact programs our women-focused investment has achieved. And we're indeed doing a whole lot more with multiple organizations in Africa and globally to improve the quality of life of African women. We strongly believe that empowerment is all about giving people a voice and power. This is why we're supporting HACEY's work to amplify women's voices. In 2020, we supported HACEY's work in leveraging the power of art in educating lots of Nigerians on sexual violence and how to end the rape culture. There is no gainsaying the fact that the world is ready and women can rise to the occasion to provide the much needed leadership the world needs to ensure everyone wins. In my opinion, and as I bring this address to a close, there is no better time to have more women in leadership than right now. Our country needs the influence of the strength, empathy, and creativity that women can deliver. Every woman needs to rise and show the world what we can do. We can start by celebrating the tremendous efforts by women and girls around the world in shaping a more equal future and recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic, and then go on to join forces for the greater good. Once again, I want to thank the leadership of HACEY Health Initiative for this opportunity, and I hope everybody on this webinar will arise and take action to ensure that women have a place in leadership and shape decision-making within the spheres of influence. I'll end with these words. If we truly want to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, then collaboration is key. We cannot afford to leave anyone behind. Let's all therefore support one another as women to ensure that no woman is left behind. At Access Bank Plc, we are committed to achieving a society where no woman is left behind. We call on everyone to join us. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Omobolanle, for that keynote address. Thank you so much for the work that you do in improving and impacting lives. Thank you so much. I know we will acknowledge that we have, made progress, but also there's still a lot we need to do in ensuring that women have equal access to basic services, that they have increased access to paid employment, that we eliminate all forms of violence against women. There's a lot we need to do to ensure that women's health and productivity and rights is being achieved. So thank you, but I believe it's a progress and one day at a time. So thank you very much for that keynote address. So we'll be moving proper to the webinar, and we're having our guest speakers speak. I'm really excited. I hope you are. So I would encourage you to pay attention and also encourage you to ask questions. Ask a lot of questions, the questions on your mind, one questions, whatever it is you want to know. Our speakers are here for us and are here really to answer all questions. So I would be moving to our first speaker. I'm really excited about this one. She's been a big inspiration, and I really love the work that she does. So our first speaker is the Chief Executive Officer of Aspire Coronation Trust Foundation, Osayi Alile, and she'll be speaking on financing women-led sustainable projects. I'll read a bit of background on her. So Osayi Alile is a leader with over 20 years in small, medium enterprise, and the third sector with a wide array of experience covering international development, business, and philanthropic management. Is in society, her degree in sociology and public administration from Rutgers University, New Jersey, prepared her to be a catalyst for change as she has revolutionized the non-profit sector in Nigeria and beyond. She possesses executive certification from LDS, Nigeria, IMD, Cranfield, Harvard University, and Yale. She's also a member of the Institute of Directors Nigeria, Chartered Institute of Bankers Nigeria Mentoring Advisory Committee, LBS Nigeria Nonprofit Senior Management Fellow, ANDE Executive Committee, Council Member, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and member of the Boardroom Africa. Osayi Alile is currently the Chief Executive Officer at ACT Foundation, a grant-making non-profit that provides funding to social sector organizations focused in the area of health, entrepreneurship, environment, and leadership. Through her hard work, dedication, and resilience, ACT Foundation, sorry about that. So through her hard work, dedication, and resilience, ACT Foundation has been adjourned the Not-for-Profit of the Year at the 2018, 2019, and 2020 Serious CSR Award. As a visionary leader, Mrs. Alile has served in various leadership capacity, including being the Executive Director, Faith Foundation, Vice President, Junior Achievement of Nigeria, and CSR Consultant, Access Bank. So we want to welcome you, Ma. Thank you for being us and thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you so much for having me, HACEY. Thank you, Rhoda. Thank you, everyone. And thank you so much, Omobolanle, for that keynote address. You've actually laid the ground for us today. So ours is just to build up and then see how we go. So today I'm speaking really about financing women-led sustainable projects. And I know I have a slide, but I'm just going to talk through it because I don't have that much time, and then speak about the issues that we face, challenges that we're facing as women, and then what we can do together. For where I work, what we've done over the years, yes, we are not fully focused on just particularly women, but we do have a lot of women-focused projects that we work. But really, women, as Omobolanle has mentioned, were really the beacon of hope, a pillar of, sorry. I don't know if anybody's gonna help me with this. Okay, anyway, I just continue and we go along. And we're capable of keeping a home. You know, a lot of times we always have these issues of balancing, being young, imbibing morals, you know, providing tutelage to people. But really, we are also people that are supposed to build brands and vision, strive to achieve multiplication, committed to our time and our energy to making sure and sourcing and harnessing opportunities to achieve set goals and objectives. That's who we are called to be. So we have to be multi-placeted, but also the fact that we need to think through a process. Omobolanle did mention something. Yes, we've seen a lot of strides in the last few years, but if you notice the last year alone, we've noticed that it's depleted a lot, even in the non-profit sector. A lot of the things that we've been able to achieve over the last few years, the pandemic has eroded quite a number of them out. And so we have to begin to think a bit different. How do we finance our project? What do we do different? What do we change? How do we make sure what we are doing makes sense and to be able to push ourselves out there? So women form the backbone of African economies. We know this. We are accounting for majority of this SMEs, our businesses. Our full economic empowerment is therefore crucial to increase our productivity levels. So everyone that is listening today, we know that we're essential to the way the economy works and how we need to push ourselves out there. We can play a key role. We have seen people playing a key role. We have seen the changes, but we have also seen the challenges and the fight for people to get to where they are. So when we're talking about financing, we have to be prepared enough for it. I mean, we saw what happened to Akinyele in the last few months before she became the DG of WTO. We've seen the push and the push, even when they had confirmed her, the push from the media and from other countries about how the way she was described. So you see all those things are there. There are so many loopholes here, so many valleys that we have to surmount so many things that we have to deal with. But we must also understand that the issue of funding has become one of the most challenging for women, especially in this time, because funding is depleting, not only in private sector, even in non-profits, across all the different sectors. And every country is focused on what their country is going through at this moment, especially with the global financial crisis, which has rocked the world. Everyone is going through different issues, but how do we increase access to funding for women? That's what we're going to talk. So although we have I've been fortunate to work in organizations where gender equality has been promoted. I mean, you heard Omobolanle speak. I'm very involved in all the issues that have to do with women with Access Bank and AWN and stuff like that. But I'm constantly being empowered and motivated. I also chaired WIMBIS, Women in Management and Business, for a few years. I've been part of that group now for the past 15 years. So that has been my, I can use the eye scope of women issues to deal with the issues that we're facing today. A number of women are disregarded in different workplaces, and even when they get into leadership positions, it's always a struggle, as I mentioned earlier. So how do we increase this? What do we do? Although women play a very important role in terms of development, our status, our businesses, SMEs, across board in everything that we do. The MDGs and of course the SDGs have been instrumental in publicizing and aiding the acceptance of gender parity across all these different mainstreams. But achieving the equality and empowering women and girls cannot be done in isolation without support from the male gender. So when we even talk about financial capacity, we also have to think, how can we also get men to be involved in discussing this as well? A lot of times when we sit on these platforms, we are mostly women talking to ourselves, but sometimes to get a man's perspective too is also crucial. Enables us to see the way he sees things, enables us to see the other side of things as well. And that enables us to change some of the ways we're coming up with solutions to the issues that we are facing. So achieving that cannot be done in isolation, but we have also improved opportunities for African women. We help boost the economic growth and development of the continent. Judging by the tenets or pillars of the Commonwealth, inclusive development is still far from actualization. And those are the things we see. So the challenges that we're facing now is that women-owned businesses face a very high barrier of entry in a lot of professional sectors. So you find out that it's very difficult for them to get to where they're supposed to be. There are challenges from societal and governmental and even organizational issues as well. They include problems associated with even compensation, even in terms of enterprise. You find two women owning the same kind of business, you find out that we'll pay a man that is giving us that service more than we'll pay the woman. And it's just something that is just in our mindsets. When the man sends you the invoice, it's almost difficult for you to send a message back to him to say, oh, can you give me a discount? But if it's a woman, you remind her that, remember, we have known each other for so long. Why are you doing this to me now and everything? So all those things are there. And even the legal frameworks do not completely support women in terms of starting businesses. Women also lack access to productive resources as well, including land, property, and things are changing. I'm not saying that they're not changing. I'm just saying that these are the challenges that we continuously face as women. And we also find it difficult to secure finances. I mean, even if you can go to Access Bank to do that, and we have the W initiative, which I will speak about as well. But such a lack of designed financial products, weak institutional capacity, and lack of incentive and do not enable us to get the lending we deserve as women. And so those are all the things that we always face. So closing the financial gap is really important, especially for entrepreneurs, especially for sourcing for financing. Organizations known for all this, which includes Access Bank W initiative. We have the Affirmative Finance Action for Women in Africa. We have a lot of projects that are out there. I know that there's some lady, if I do it to me, does something called, oh gosh, I can't remember the name now. I think I remember AGS Tribes, where she gives opportunities for women to source and access financing as well. We also have WIMBI. So there are quite a few platforms. So one of the things I will encourage us when we're thinking of access to funding is also to think what platforms are out there. You cannot do it in isolation. It's almost impossible. You have to, the way it's been done over the years, where you just say, okay, I just go into a bank and ask them for a loan and they give me a loan. It's changed, because now how many of us can actually go into meetings anymore? Even with the pandemic, everything is done online. So one of the solutions I'll come up with is that There are so many tribes out there, so many. Yeah, look at HACEY now. We're all sitting here, we're listening to these conversations, coming up with new ideas, thinking through a process. There are so many opportunities out there in different tribes, in different fellows. So you have to find out who is out there, who is doing what I will be interested in. Who else can I speak to? And join those tribes. Sometimes there are things that are going on that you have no clue. Or even if you think you know everything, you have no clue. Some of those tribes, I mean, they are for people that are actually much younger than me, but I still join them because sometimes the information I get there, I cannot get it anywhere else. I might not I'm not an entrepreneur and I'm not running a business at the moment, but there's so many informations that I find in all these different sectors, and they're small groups, sometimes of maybe 300 women, 400 women, and they're doing amazing work. So we really need to achieve empowerment for women. It is necessary to consider the assessment and the resources out there and make sure that you're tapped into those resources, you're tapped into the capacities that are out there. So we have to advocate for the participation and leadership of women in economic activities. As Omobolanle mentioned, when you have women sitting on board, you find out that decisions are taken in a proper, because people will think more. Because a woman sitting there will say, no, that's not the best way to do it. I mean, I tried it last time, it didn't work for me. So we need to push and talk about these things more often. We need to understand that it's necessary. Provision for grants for women-led focus projects are also very important. How do we even talk about these things? Who is out there? Who is doing what we're talking about now? You need to find them. And, that's why Google is our friend. Sometimes I just Google who is doing anything women-led initiatives out there. You see a lot of organizations will come up. I start to Google them, ask questions, send information to them. Is this something that you do? Because a lot of people do come to me for advice. So I also need to know what is out there. So we have to fund pooling to support and provide sustainable subsistence for women-led and focused projects. We as organizations or as NGOs that are working in communities, what are we doing? I saw the video from HACEY and what the different projects that they're doing in the communities. So those are the things that we have to think of. How are we devising partnerships and associations? I have said it once or twice before, we cannot work in isolation anymore. So we have to think of how collaborations will work for us. How do we partner with other organizations? How do we partner with other enterprises as well? I remember during the pandemic, even just before the pandemic, there were a group of entrepreneurs, about 6 of them. Of course, they couldn't rent a space on their own. So 6 of them came in. They were all doing different businesses. They decided to rent a space together in a small place. And they wanted to try it first for 3 months first. And after they did 3 months, they actually renewed for 2 years because they all worked well together. So they were sharing cost of rent, cost of lights, cost of sales girls, and they all had, they came up with a process that worked for them. So we have to think outside of the status quo. We have to think outside of the box. How do we finance what we are doing? Who is out there? But you don't have to go to the regular one, the ones that spread your tents out wide, ask questions. Even with Access Bank, when you join the community, you will find out that there's so many other available opportunities that we don't even think about. And then of course, also investing in the girl child education and making them understand. And when I mean education, I don't mean only formal education of going to school. Even beginning to speak to your daughters, to your nieces, to your cousins, to your sisters about the fact that women have to take charge of their finances, and we need to know what we are doing even at this time. I mean, I've had women come to sit with me and we're having conversations, and I'm asking, well, you've been in this business for 15 years. What have you done? And they'll say, oh, I had to do this. I bought this place, but we had to use it for the family. But you have to know to ask yourself, who do I speak to? And then sometimes, when you start a business and you think, yes, it's going well, but if your finances are not in place as well, what do you do? And there are so many organizations out there, even if you go to like a faith foundation that you can start a process with, and then start at least do the formal education of running a business first, and then begin to say, okay, what kind of financing do I need for this business? But sitting down by yourself and just being on Instagram now, it's not the next step of play. So quite a number of these people help you to put things in process. I mean, Faith is an organization that we have supported also over the last few years. And then they put things in place, help you to go through a technical training process of what you need to do as an enterprise first before you even begin to access financing. So also in terms of the things I think about is that when I even want to start any enterprise, or when I'm advising someone to do that, I'd ask them, who is counseling you? Who are you getting guidance from? Because you also don't want to make the same mistake somebody else has done. Who are the people? And most of these organizations have mentoring programs that are very, very strong as well. I mean, everyone needs a mentor. I mean, I have a mentor, and Omobolanle has one as well. Rhoda will do. I mean, I have quite a few of them that sits me down and say, okay, this thing. I even have mentors that when I post something on Instagram, they send me a message. I mean, that thing doesn't make any sense. Osayi. So you have to have people that you're accountable to, people that you are, because if not, what happens is that you enter into a business, you get this, and then you get so overwhelmed with what is going on. I don't know about you, but the last year has been very overwhelming for me, and I've had to, anchor myself in other people that have, once in a while, when I go back to them in terms of my career, they will say, oh no, this is the best way, and all that. Sometimes you don't listen to everything everybody says, but a lot of times, at least you pick one or two things from there. So when you are talking about financing, and you're talking about the fact that we need to have access to that finance, you are also asking what platforms are available for full inclusion of girls and women, and what do I have available? And I'm mentioning these names of organizations so that in case people do not know it, you can actually Google them. So I don't want to give you one example and say this is the best one to go. I'm giving you different ones, different platforms, people that you can listen to speak about. But you see, they're financing out there. But you have to also be diligently ready for it as well. Your business has to be ready for it. And even for us, when we are giving financing to SMEs, when I mean SMEs, non-profit SMEs that are going to do work in the community, there's so many things that we want them to be accountable to, because this money does not belong to us, it belongs to people that have given us to use it to do these things. And you have to, even if an organization wants to give you a loan or give you a grant, they also want to make sure that the organization that you have started as a woman is completely strong. They want to make sure you as a person as well, you are ready to make sure that organization moves to the next level. So they're asking questions in terms of governance issues, your finance issue, legal systems. All these things are important. And even if you think I'm just a small business, you see, once you don't have your foundation in place properly, what happens is that as you begin to grow, the foundation that you have built for a bungalow cannot take a three-story building. So once you begin to grow, what will happen is that the foundation will begin to shake. So everything you need to do, you have to do it in place from the very beginning and begin to grow as you are growing. So make sure that even no matter how small it is, the legal issues, finance issues, making sure that your company has its own accounts, all those things must be in place before you even begin to think of external funding. And because once you start taking external funding, you become accountable to other people as well. So fostering even platforms to boost networking, entrepreneurial acumen for young ladies, those things are important. So what platforms are there to boost our networking capacity? Even as we're all speaking here, this is an opportunity, and I'm hoping that we're able to chat as well. Just ask questions and send, because what I do when I go on the platform, I actually send messages out to people. My name is Osayi. I'm CEO of ACT Foundation. This is what we do, because you never know who is out there that is looking for your service, looking for your product, and then the person replies. Don't use social media only as a terms of networking and social networking. You can use as a business network as well, and make sure that you have a separate account for that. That's in terms of your business account, and be prepared to be professional in everything that you do. Yes, a lot of us are working from home now, but we still need to do things in a very professional manner, because you're thinking of sustainability in the long term. You want your business to outlive you. So you need to make sure that your foundation is very, very strong. So as women, in every situation we find ourselves, at work, in our businesses, day to day, in schools, in homes, we must always push for balance. We must challenge the status quo of what we see now. Believe that it can happen. Believe that you can get the funding, but begin to build an organization to a point where you believe that, yes, this thing can be shown anywhere else, and make it global. It doesn't have to be, yes, I just have when I speak to men, what do you do? I have a small business. I mean, when you even start with that already kills everything, because in my mind, I already look at the thing like a small business like this, mom and pop. But I mean, it can be a mom and pop. It's how you describe yourself. How do you describe who you are as a person? How do you describe your business? So when you go in and you're asking for financing, people feel some form of, respect for what you do as a person, and they are able to provide for you as an organization. We have to understand that equal does not mean identical. Equality is not equity. Remember, everyone has a right to choose. We have a right to choose who we want to be. We have a right to choose what we want to do. We have to stand up for ourselves as women. We have to stand up for ourselves in terms of our finances as well, even in terms of how we manage our finances at home and in terms of our businesses. We have to stand up for our dreams. Nobody has a right to restrict where our place is. Nobody has the right to tell us that our business should only be a mom and pop and it should be like that for the next 10 years. No one has the right to be. You are the only one that has your business in your hand. So let us also stand up for others as well. Even as HACEY is giving us an opportunity to be on this platform, to have different conversations. This is what we do. This is a real challenge. We have to promote fairness in every day, and we help others on our way up. Once you help others, people will help you as well. And so even in speaking in terms of how we get finance, we must realize that there are opportunities out there. But we as women must be ready for those opportunities, and we must look for them. Nobody gives you, there's no entitlement mentality. Nobody comes to give you anything just hands it over to you. We have to be very, very conscious and very strategic about how we finance and how we push our projects out there in terms of our businesses or even projects that we're doing in the communities. We have to be very strategic about it. We have to be prepared to understand that even as women, and as we celebrate International Women's Day, we know that the challenges that we are facing is not who we are and is not our status quo. We must create a different platform ourselves, because we know that our sustainable projects must survive. It must survive us as individuals, as founders, or even as people that work in the organization. And it must be an opportunity where we will be willing to help others to grow and to move to the next level. I'm hoping that this has helped us, and I know that Choma is already telling me that it's time up, and I hope that we'll be able to get some questions in after that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Osayi, for that beautiful presentation. I learned a lot. Though short, but it was really impactful. I think one of the key things I took away was the power is in our hands. Power to challenge status quo, power to do a lot more than we think we're doing now. It's in our hands. So we just need to stand up, like you said, network, join tribes, move out of our comfort zone, and be diligent in whatever it is that we're doing. Because if you're diligent, then it's most likely that you will be able to access some of this funding. So a lot of the work is on us as individuals to be able to be professional in what we do, and then when these fundings come, we're able to tap into that and key into that. So thank you very much. I want to encourage you guys. You also ask questions, ask a lot of questions. You cannot leave here and not ask a question. I know we all have one or two things to get off our chest and get clarity on. So I guess here to answer that. So thank you very much again, Osayi, for that. I really appreciate it. Moving on to our next speaker. Our next speaker is Jumoke Akinyele. She's the Deputy Director of Business known as ACK Communications Limited. And she'll be speaking on advocating for gender equality in the media industry. So Jumoke is a lover of brands and art. She studied English and literally studied art at Adekunle Ajasin University, Ondo State, and started her career in brand management with NOAA's Art Communication, where she has grown through the ranks to Deputy Director of Business. She's also a graduate of the Senior Management Program at Lagos Business School. She has worked on various brands such as Multina, HACEY Health Initiative, Pay Attitude, Indomie, Ajala NG, Paga, Swift Network, Three Crown Milk, Travel Start, Airtel, amongst others. She also has a thing for fitness and healthy eating. Thank you. We're welcome, Dr. Jumoke, and we are hoping that we get more insight from you as well. So welcome.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, everyone. I hope we can all hear me. I'm going to start by saying thank you for the opportunity to come and listen, because it's not just about coming to share. I've actually learned a lot. I've been jotting and jotting. Omobolanle's speech, her session was very enlightening. It helped me to see a lot of things that Access Bank is currently doing. Also, Osayi, you are the best. Like, I was just jotting and jotting. Thank you for giving yourself, and thank you for the enlightening session. I also say thank you to Rhoda and her team for allowing me to come and share. I wasn't expecting this. I didn't even feel like it was something I could do, but thank you for the opportunity. So if you do not mind, I'm going to share my screen just to take us through my presentation. It's short, but I'm hopeful that at the end of the day, we would take something out of this. So I'm going to try and Chama, please, could you confirm if you can see my screen, please?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
You can.
Yes, okay. Thank you. So I'm going to be taking us through the topic, advocating for gender equality in the media industry. I work in marketing communications. I work with Noatalk, where we develop brands and we work on advertising for some notable brands in Nigeria. And when I got the topic, I started to think, yes, we always talk about the fact that women are undermined. We do not have equality. The opportunities that men have are quite a lot compared to what women have. And that kickstarted some thought in me. I had to start digging to see, okay, I always do not believe that you have this gender inequality. And you'd forgive me or permit me to have my own opinion on that. And that's because I always will say that I do not expect people to hand over opportunity to me. I take it. So I do not really see the inequality, but because I have to talk on this, I've had to read a lot on this, and it's opened my eyes to the fact that the opportunities that women have are actually not as much as men would, which is a learning point for me as well, going into education, even opportunities for jobs and things like that. And looking at the media industry as a whole, I'd broken this down even in my presentation to what is obtainable globally and then what you have in Nigeria. You'll find out that there's some bits of variance in what's obtainable across board, but we would dive into this. So I'll start by taking us through the theme for the year for International Women's Day. And it's basically around gender equality, the fact that women in leadership, we need to achieve some form of equal future, just riding on what COVID has dealt us as it were. 2020 was really a learning curve for everybody. So whatever grounds that we have gained in terms of pushing for equality when it comes to gender, we have lost some ground because of the effect of COVID-19. A lot of women lost their jobs. A lot of women couldn't cope because of probably the effect of COVID on their mental health, and they couldn't really give so much at work. A lot of people had to leave work just so that they could find that fine balance between taking care of themselves and taking care of their family, and then also still be sane for themselves at the end of the day. Also, the theme tries to celebrate the efforts that women and girls around the world are doing just to shape this equal future and recovering from COVID-19. And I got this from the UN Women website. So for me, this quote from Deborah is very, very instructive. And it says that if you empower a man, you empower one person. But if you empower a woman, you're empowering our family. And I'm going to take it further. You're not just empowering our family, you are empowering the community where she lives, you're empowering the society where she stays, and by extension, you're empowering the world. So I think it's just very instrumental that when women are empowered, you're obviously empowering the world. And for me, and even from what Deborah had said, is the fact that women need to get together to make miracle happen. We're not going to be working in silos like Osayi had said. We need to be able to open up more, because if a woman is doing something very good, and that translates to 2 other women, 3 other women doing great things, you would see that you have phenomenal results at the end of the day. So for me, it's the fact that women have to participate fully and effectively, not just in the mundane things, the domestic things, because when you think of women, the first thing that comes to your mind is how they have been domesticated. Yes, a woman is good in the kitchen, a woman is good for raising kids. You do not really think of women in the professional light, as it were. So we need to be able to drive that progress for everybody from the point of view of the women. I'm going to take us through some stats and facts that I got from the United Nations Women website. It's the fact that women are still underrepresented in public life and decision making. And this is not just tied to the media industry, it is across board, whether in manufacturing, in C-suites, in different industries. You find out that when you look at the statistics and you look at the number, the ratio between men and women, you find out that you have more men and compared to women. If you take that to governance as well, or politics, you'll find out that in 22 countries, you have women as head of states and all that. Well, we have 190 countries in the world. What happened to the over almost 170 countries where women can also make an impact? We know that culture, religion, and things like that also have helped to shape how we see women and how we allow them to ascend to positions of authority and leadership. And also in the parliament across the nations, you also have about 24.9%, which is very, very small if you look at it. And the current rate of progress in gender equality amongst these head of states would take us another 130 years to achieve what we need to achieve. Omobolanle had alluded to the fact that it will take us over 100 years, and I totally agree. But then the big question for me would then be that, are we going to sit down as women, as girls, as ladies, and we'll wait for this to take its natural course? Are we waiting till 2150 to achieve this, or we're going to step up and start to take actions to bridge this gap and shorten this time? So looking at the SDG goals, you have 17 of them. The number 5 SDG goal is about gender equality, and it's the fact that we need to achieve gender equality and empower women and empower girls, right? So if we look at the stats and we feel like it's going to take 130 years to get there, and for the achievement of the SDG, everything is supposed to be done if things work as planned, if government does what they're supposed to do, right? If people do what they're supposed to do, right? By 2030, and that's how many years from now? 8 years from now. So I think for us as women, we need to start thinking that we have that hourglass, we have that time ticking off. We have just 8 years to be able to do that. I do not know that we're going to achieve 100% at the time, but if we start now, we're not going to be resting on our oars. We need to start moving. Every woman needs to start doing something for the next woman. Every woman needs to start doing something for herself as well, so that she's able to impact her family, she's able to impact her society, she's able to impact the world as we progress. So I'm going to then go into media. So I'm talking in terms of the media landscape. I'm going to be speaking, touching on film, I'm going to touch on broadcasting, I'm going to touch on journalism and even marketing communications, which is where I work. And the fact is that the role of women and the role that they play in the media has become a topic for conversation. A lot of people have started to talk about this. You go to different places, people are talking about how women are in the media, what they're doing, the milestones that they're achieving, the not so good things that they're doing, and the fact that we know that there's this unfair bias towards men in the industry. Probably years before, if you're looking at the percentage of men who are journalists or broadcasters or even actors and the roles that they get and the roles that they play, you will find out that it's more skewed in favor of the men rather than the women. And I think McKinsey also speaks to that. I'm not very sure that we're going to be able to see this graph, but I will speak to it. So I started to do some digging, and I realized that if you look at how women have progressed through the funnel, like I get into the entry level and I'm going into a C-suite position, yes, you find out that when you get into school, so let's take it down a little bit, people apply to study mass communication in school. When you go to class, I studied mass communication, you find out that you have a lot of women in class, or a lot of ladies who are studying mass communication, obviously because they want to be broadcasters, journalists, they want to be publishers, and things like that. I always said that I wanted to become a CNN reporter, but advertising found me at some point. You'll realize that down that, going through that funnel, right? At the entry level, you find out that you have a lot of women in there, and as they move across and they move on that ladder, you'll find out that there's this stagnancy when they get to the middle managers level. You don't see a lot of women progressing into the C-suite or into the board level. And that's based on the fact that you have a lot of biases towards women, towards the female gender. You'll find out that at the workplace, especially in the corporate organization, the appraisals that women get is slightly biased. I had this conversation with some of my colleagues yesterday, and they just asked me to say that, have I ever noticed that men get more favored when it comes to salary scale, how they are paid, how they are appraised, how they're spoken to at the workplace. When it comes to the appraisal period, the way men are treated is slightly different from the way women are treated. And some of these things are not far-fetched because women carry a lot. We are the ones who multitask. We are the ones who have to be responsible for our family. We are the ones who have to be responsible at work. We are the ones that have to be responsible for the children. We are the ones that have to be responsible even for ourselves. And all these things start to show in the way that we then position women, or the way we see women even in the positions of leadership. According to McKinsey, the statistics is that you have only about 27% of women taking positions in the C-suite. And it's very disheartening, because I would always say that I do not want anything stopping me. I will do everything that I have to do just to open that door. And if the door is not opening, I break it down. And I think that's something that we need to also take into cognizance as women. Another thing that stood out for me is the fact that you have these microaggressions towards women. There are things that we might not see if we're not looking very well. There are things that a lot of people will just do because they do not intend to do it, but they just do it. Examples of these things would be the fact that you start to marginalize your female co-worker without even knowing that you're doing it. You start to interrupt women. So a woman is talking, because you feel like you have an opinion, you'd interrupt her while she's talking. You might not know that those things take effect on the woman, but they do. There are things that there's some things around the fact that when women are talking, or when they're making a presentation, or when they're doing stuff, you feel like, oh, because you think you have a flicker of an idea of something important or something more than what you do, you bring that up. And these things have effects on the woman. It affects our psyche, affects our emotional stability, affects the confidence level that women have. You have people questioning your judgment just because you're a woman. I had a colleague telling me that most times when people see her name, they feel like it's supposed to be a man. And then when she replies to emails and things like that, even when she's told them, oh, I am a miss or I am a missus, you still find out that, say, okay, sir, why would you do that? Probably you did it out of ignorance, or you did it out of the fact that, oh, it really doesn't matter. But these are the things that really, really affect women and affect how they progress. Because if the woman is not as strong as you would expect, she starts to doubt herself and think, oh, is this really for me? Do I really have to take this opportunity? And then the opportunity that women get, like I said, I do not expect that women should be handed over opportunities. Yes, it's something that takes place, but we'll demand it at some point and we'll take our position. Also, if you look at how much women are paid, and I think it's not just in the media industry, it cuts across different industries as well. The amount that a man is paid on the same level based on the same job description is quite different from what you would get as a woman. And I really don't understand why, because we're doing the same job. You would even find out that women are doing more than the men will do, because I always feel like women are more responsible. We take charge more. And that's my own personal bias, but I do not understand why women should be paid less than men. So all these things, these micro aggressions and things like that, unknowingly and sometimes knowingly, just create this glass ceiling that restricts women from moving to leadership positions. And I think that based off on conversations that we're going to have today and going forward, there are things that will start to help us shatter this glass ceiling. So I'll take us through some examples. And this is just to show that men are highly paid, or paid higher than women are paid even within the same industry. So I took a journey. I'm going to take us through a journey on Hollywood. So if you do a comparison between what Forbes reports as the highest paid actors in 2020 and the highest paid female actresses in 2020, you start to see where these variances come to play. First of all, the highest paid is Dwayne Johnson. He was paid 87.5 million last year, despite COVID, which is a progression from where he was in 2019. You also have Ryan Reynolds at 71.5. You have Mark at 58. You have Ben Affleck at 55 million, and then you have Vin Diesel. On the flip side of that, if you look at what women were paid, you see Sophia, she was paid 43. Compare that to, she's the highest paid female, compare that to what the highest male got. Look at Angelina Jolie as well at 35.5. You have Gal Gadot at 31 million. You have Melissa at 25, and then Meryl Streep at 24 million. I hope that we're seeing what the differences are now. I'm not going to equate the level of work that all of them did, because of course your role would differ, how you interpret your roles would differ, your characterization and all those would differ. But then compare again, the highest male was paid 87. The lowest as the man is $54 million. Compare that to the highest paid lady or woman. You see that there's a variance of about almost 10 million. And those things will start to trigger how we think and how we see these things and bring these things to perspective. I'm also going to look at influential journalists globally as well. And I got some comfort looking at this basically because when I did the research, I had to go check the New York Film Academy to get the statistics. And I was happy that they were a little bit balanced in how they had reported. You had 6 women, you had 6 men, and all these women that have been highlighted here are the ones that I'm going to speak to. They've done a lot in their field. You have Frederica, who's been an anchor for CNN for years. She champions the weekend edition of the CNN newsroom. She's got over 30 years experience. She's award winning and things like that. You also have who is a Chinese journalist, and you find out that you do not have so much of freedom of expression, especially in China, because you have some suppression of the media, but she's been able to rise above that and let her voice be heard. She has she's an international editor for the China Business Times, and she's also adjudged as the 87th, I think, most powerful woman in the world. This was as of 2011 by Forbes. You have Amanpo, and I'm sure that her name is a household name, especially when you watch news and you watch CNN. This woman has interviewed a lot of world leaders. She's the anchor for CNN, the international interview program named Amanpo is named after her, and she's a force to reckon with. So I'm just going to speak to all these 3, and you realize that yes, you have a lot of men in that field. Yes, women are coming up, we're getting there, but I think we just need to do better. I'm going to speak to Oprah. Everybody knows this woman, and if you don't, please, I'm introducing you to her now. She's the richest Black woman in the world. Her net worth as of 2020, as recorded by Forbes, is $2.7 billion. She started as an anchor for a talk show, and that talk show over the last 25 years has morphed into a media and business empire. This woman is really, really doing great stuff. Tying it back to what has happened with COVID, you realize that a lot of people, you can't do contact. And that's what broadcasting is all about. You want to do a talk show, you have to be in the same space with the person who you are interviewing, obviously, except if you are doing Zoom like we're doing now, or you're doing other video calls and things like that. But she introduced technology into it, and I think it shaped the way we saw broadcasting, at least for me. And I know that a lot of people spoke about it, which is how I even found out about it. So I'm just going to try and play this video. I've trimmed it a bit just so that we can get an idea of what it is and see what women are really doing and what she's done, basically.
Can she see me yet? I can. This is pretty cool technology you got here. So let me try to. We're playing footsies. We should have done this in outer space. We could have both been sitting on like Neptune in a bubble. Hey, what have you been doing for fun?
I have not left home since March 8th.
At all?
I went to an eye doctor's appointment because I could no longer fix my eye infection.
Okay, so I think this just gives us a little bit of sneak peek into this. Both of them are in different spaces, but if you didn't see the backstory or the behind the scene, you wouldn't realize that they are not in the same space. This is a woman deploying the power of technology just to make things happen. So let's bring it home to Nigeria. I'm going to talk about some women. When I was growing up, my father used to make us watch NTA News. And I'm sure that a lot of us know Eugenia Abu. She's powerful. She's just phenomenal. And I think when you look at broadcasting and newscasting as well, she's a force to reckon, which is also a name that will be mentioned. Mo Abudu as well. She has one of the biggest media and film conglomerates in Nigeria. She's doing a lot of things with filmmaking. A lot of her films gross a lot and very highly in the box office as well. You have Funke Egbemode. She's the MD of News Telegraph. She's also the president of the Editors Guild of Nigeria, a woman doing great stuff and doing great things in Nigeria. You have Maokwe Ogun. And I think on Maokwe, if you're not very grounded, if you're not if you don't know if you're not what your salt, if this lady interviews you, you realize that, yes, you're not there. So I think for me, I think she's one of the ladies that have helped to shape interviews, shape news broadcasting and all that in Nigeria. We also have Uche Pedro. I'm sure that a lot of us know Bella Ninja. She's one of the ladies who have helped to shape how we do blogging, even journalism in the digital world. Because if you have thought of journalism before or news reporting, it's all about the serious things. Yes, there's a better way to do the serious things now, and everybody gets the message thanks to Uche and some of the other people who are doing stuff. You have Morayo Afolabi Brown. She's the director of programs for TVC, and also one of the co-anchors for Your View. And I think that based off on the powerful things that these women are saying, they go viral like almost every week. Even some of the media outfits are looking forward to the conversations that they are going to have so that they can have content for themselves. And I think stuff on what these ladies are doing, they've been able to increase the rating of TVC as an organization, and even the program to be like the highest rated breakfast program in the country at the moment. You also have Kadaria, who is a reporter. She's worked with CNN, she's worked with a lot of powerful organizations as well. And you have Stephanie Busari as well. And then going into film as well, you have Kemi Adetiba. Kemi is host to being a film director. And if you start to mention some of the powerful films that you've watched in recent times, you find out that she's either directed or she's worked on those things. You have Funke Akindele. One of the movies is in the cinema right now, and not something that you expect from what a woman would do. You have Linda Ikeji, who has also helped to shape how blogging is done. I know bad belly people will call it gossiping, but this woman has built something very phenomenal. TV and things like that. You also have women who are marketing. Margie was one of the people who started this. Whatever you see as skits, where everybody is on it right now, I think this young lady was at the forefront of making that thing happen. And I always would love my heart for her. Same thing for Tauma. If you come to my own industry, marketing communications, you'll find Temitope. Temitope is the MD of DKK. In marketing communications or in advertising, when you think of the people who work there, you're thinking of art directors, copywriters, and most times they are men. When I started advertising about 11 years ago, I remember that we were just 3 ladies and 13 men in the office, and it was a great concern for me. But going down the line now, you have female art directors, you have a lot of women doing stuff, and I'm very proud of this lady for her to be the MD of an advertising agency. It's a lot of work and it's a lot of commitment, and she's doing that very well. You also have this lady, her name is Simi. She's the group creative director for Insight to Defini, also an advertising agency. And when you start to think of creative directors, you're not thinking of a man, you're thinking of a woman. Even globally, you do not have so many female creative directors, where I think that we now have women who are trying to do stuff and just pave the way for other women. So just trying to round this up here, looking at strategies that we can then adopt in promoting women participation in the media, whether in film, whether in music, whether in broadcasting, journalism, and all that. I'll take it from the C-suite because that's how I started, and then I'll go into the not so corporate side of things. We find out that you have very little representation of women in the C-suite. And I think Omobolanle mentioned that for our own organization, you find out that you have a lot, at least a very good representation on the board, on the management. But if you go across other institutions, other industries, that's not the case. So I think for us to be able to have our voices heard and to be properly represented, there needs to be an increase in women who have access to these pathways to the top, and also to be able to take up more challenges. And how do we do that? Board diversity. Let's appoint more women to the board positions. And I'm not saying that we should just appoint them for positioning's sake or just appoint them for appointment's sake. Most times when you get people on the board, it's based on their years of experience. But you find out that you have a lot of women who have everything that it takes to be on that board. And you are not going to say because they don't have up to 30 or 40 years experience, they cannot come on board. I think it's something that we need to look into. Board diversity will help us to be able to balance that out. Also, sponsorships. So, and I didn't quite understand this or even know this until last year when I moved upward on in my workplace. And one of the things that I have learned, even reading and meeting people, is the fact that you cannot really rise in that in the organizational ladder if you do not have a sponsor, if you do not have a mentor, if you do not have somebody in that boardroom who is speaking for you, who is able to attest to the fact that you can do your work well, you can manage your team properly, you can move the organization forward, you can contribute meaningfully and profitably to the organization. And if women are not able to shatter that glass ceiling and move off from the middle managers into top management, I do not know how they're supposed to go into senior management. So what I am thinking and what I am proposing is that you have this sponsorship or career advancement programs, both for men and women, because we're not going to be biased and say because we are championing women empowerment, we should lose, the men should lose out as well. But can we have sponsorship programs where you can network, where women are able to show themselves, be heard, connect more with people? So at least we start to open up, people see what we are made of. People know that we can do these things. They're not just going to say, oh, because I am a woman, she cannot do it. Then you start to peel the layers, you start to see the competencies, you start to see the fact that they can really, really do this. So we need to be able to create these opportunities for cross-networking. Also, I've spoken about the fact that you have these microaggressions towards women. Women actually need to start to speak up and speak out for themselves. I'm not going to say because a guy made a snide remark about me or the fact that somebody interrupted me. If I do not like it, I need to speak up. Women need to actually start to speak for themselves. If you're not comfortable with something, you're not going to say because the Bible says I need to be submissive, or the fact that the society regards women as the lesser vessel, or the fact that women are not supposed to be speaking. We actually need to start speaking up. If we do that, people get the message, and I'm sure that they wouldn't do that anymore. We also need to start having appraisal evaluation that are fair. right? You're doing appraisals for the man, you're doing appraisals for the woman. It should be based on the same yardstick. You're not going to say because, oh, she's a woman, she's off work because she has to take her child to the hospital, or because she has to be at the kids' school, or because something happened at work. It should be fair evaluation. Yes, you would consider these factors, but they shouldn't be the determining factors for how women rise in the organizational ladder. And for the not so corporate sector, as it were, film, music, we need to start having conversations around the fact that these women work hard. I go on the internet, I see that a woman buys a car or an actress buys a house, and then the next thing is, oh, she's dating one senator, oh, she's stepped away up there, oh, it was a man that bought it. What stops us from seeing the fact that she actually works hard, right? And she needs to be treated with respect. She deserves it. It's something that has to be given. And I think women also need to start encouraging women. You need to start supporting women. Somebody does something, repost it. We're in a digital world, it's not going to cost you anything. Yes, probably your timeline will be clogged up, or your feed would have more things that have to do with external people than yourself. But I think women rise by being pulled up. Osayi had mentioned it. Your tribe matters. The kind of people who project you matters. Women need to start projecting women. We do not have to see that, oh, because I'm not the one doing it, yes, I start to feel bad. But we need to start supporting women. And I'm going to end on this. If you're not given the space, if you're not given the seat, you need to start creating yours and defining yours. Oprah has done that. I'm sure that Moabudu has done that. Linda KG has done that. A lot of people have done that. We as women need to start to create our own spaces and define our own spaces. I will end on this quote by Tara Perry, and he had said that instead of begging for a seat, please build your own table. I'm not going to wait for somebody to call me to management, or the fact that my appraisal didn't go well, or something like that. If you do not invite me to the table, I am going to build my own. If you're not opening the door, I'll break the wall down. And I think that that's something that women need to start thinking about, and it should be a driving force for how we go forward, how we move going forward. I think if we do this, you start to see a lot of women participate more and shine more and are more visible, especially in the media industry. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Jumoke, for that beautiful one. I love the energy. So thank you again for that beautiful one. So we're moving quickly to our next speaker. Our next speaker is Fabia Ogunmekan, and she's the Executive Director of Women in Successful Career, WISCA. And she'll be briefly speaking on the power of mentoring in empowering the next generation of women leaders. Fabia is a lawyer and corporate executive with 20 years post-call experience working in the field of law and development across corporate organizations and non-profits in the healthcare, gender, and entrepreneurial sector. She holds a master's degree of science in non-profit management from the Cass Business School, City University London, BL from the Nigerian Law School, and Bachelor's of Law degree from the University College London. Upon completion of her master's program, she joined the Tony Elumelu Foundation as alumni and engagement manager, where she was responsible for developing and implementing engagement programs and collaborative partnership opportunities for alumni network. After a short stint in independent consulting, she joined Women in Successful Careers, WISCA, for a not-for-profit organization focused on capacity development for professionals, and is currently Executive Director of Women in Successful Careers. You're welcome, Fabia, and you have the floor now.
Thank you very much, Chioma, and thank you very much to Rhoda and the entire HACEY Health team for having me here this morning. Indeed, HACEY Health has firmly become a trusted partner for WISCA, and this goes a long way in evidencing the power of mentorship and what the WISCA program stands for, especially when a mentee becomes a mentor, so to speak. Rhoda is an alumni of the WISCA mentoring program, and today HACEY and WISCA have partnered on a number of community health outreach initiatives, and also worked last year on a very impactful report, which was a COVID-19 report on working women. She definitely defines what it means to be a WISCA alumni, and certainly pays it forward. I also want to acknowledge and celebrate the presence of our distinguished panelists and keynote speaker, Mrs. Omobolanle Laniyan, Victor Laniyan, as well as Madam Jumoke, who's just spoken and very nicely segued into the issue of mentoring, which I'll be talking about. And my own mentor, par excellence, Ms. Osayi Alile. I'm really, really passionate about working in this sector, and I know that Ms. Alile is one of the pillars of this, our third sector, and it's always a privilege to be on the same platform with her, as well as acknowledging all the work and support that the HACEY Foundation has rendered to WISCA over the years. So without further ado, I will be speaking about the power of mentoring in empowering the next generation of women for leadership. I'll be sharing my screen. I hope everyone can see. Can you confirm that you can see my slides?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
All right, thank you. Right, so the power of mentorship in empowering the next generation of women leaders. Let me start with a couple of statistics. So on gender diversity, we're celebrating International Women's Month. So let's just think, and a number of statistics have been shared. We've heard and seen some very useful and interesting examples from women in media. Now, just looking at women in the corporate world generally and in the boardrooms. A McKinsey report, I think it's about 2 years now, the Africa report documenting how women are doing in the corporate workplace, places gender diversity at 5%. So 5% of women CEOs globally, 5% of CEOs globally are women. 22% of cabinet ministers worldwide occupy the seats, occupy seats in cabinet are women. Of parliamentarians worldwide, so women in the legislature who make laws that help promote life and societal practices and all of that, it's only sits at 24%. 29% of women in senior management positions globally, it's just 29%. In terms of how many women get promoted on an annual basis into leadership and senior management positions, is 36%. And of women who actually hold not just executive board roles, but senior management roles, is at 44%. So we take a minute to really reflect and think about that. There's a quote that says, women hold up half the sky. And essentially what that means, and incidentally, across the world, really women make up about 50% of the general world's population. I think the business case has been made across both private sector and public sector that there is an intrinsic, and indeed, we've said that in so many ways today already, that it makes no sense in the year 2021. When I was a child or when I was growing up, I imagined, we had all these shows that we were watching, Space 1991. I don't know if anybody remembers that, and all sorts of shows like Star Wars and things. I imagined that in the year 2021, we would be living in Mars, or, it would be easy to just access and be in this interplanetary world, intergalactic world. I didn't imagine that we'd still be having conversations around, diversity, equality, and making the case for gender parity in such a strong way. Interestingly, the UN Women has tagged the next decade, so we're in 2021 now, the next decade up to 2030 has been tagged, the decade of action, the decade for women. And it is important, on a day like this, that we really just take time to reflect on these numbers and all come together collectively to think about how it is that we can really make and move the traction on gender diversity and equality over the next 10 years. It makes, I think the business case and the whole conversation around what women bring to the table. We are half of the sky, we are half of the world. And what that simply means is that you cannot really progress in terms of nation building, in terms of, making the right policies that affect everybody if you only have half of that voice at the table and the voices of women are not fully represented. And I think that the case that we make is not about marginalization or about making men redundant. It's really about having an equal say and an equal platform for the general progress of humanity. So that being said, why are there so few women, why are there so few women in the workplace? What are the reasons and what are these barriers? One of it is women's attitudes and behaviors. we are socialized from a very young age to often feel that, our voice is secondary. And I think Jumoke gave quite a few examples of what happens even at board level and representation at board level, and even just how people tend to shut women down in those spaces where we're not naturally socialized to belong. So I think that, if so, our own attitude is not our fault often that we do not have the confidence to really aspire to the highest positions that we can aspire to. Oftentimes it's because, from a very young age, we're socialized, like I said, to just, take a back seat. When we're in primary school, we're almost empowered to feel like we can do all, But then very, 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 soon after that, just as we even prepare to get into secondary school, the roles start to change, It becomes about informing us to do courses like more courses in the arts, courses around, managing the home. And then thereafter, as you progress, even when you get into university, the conversation is still, it doesn't matter how many PhDs or how many how many LLBs or whatever it is that you have. If you ultimately do not gain that title of MRS, you haven't really progressed. You haven't done well. It doesn't matter what else you've achieved. And it's certainly not the same message that men get. Men are trained, young boys are trained from the very beginning to be ambitious, even in the kinds of toys and things, that we use or we're given when we're children. So our socialization comes, plays a very important part in shaping our attitudes and our behaviors. And it goes right from our early years right into how we perform when we get into the workplace, which is why mentoring is one of the very important skills and important pathways in really ensuring that women really achieve all that is possible that they can achieve within their careers. And a career is simply where you have chosen to pitch your tent for the long haul. And that could be a career even as a homemaker, right? It takes a lot to actually run a household and run it efficiently and do all the things, grooming your children, all the things. There is mentoring even required in being a homemaker, not to talk of when you find yourself in the corporate workplace. So from entry level to mid level to breaking that glass ceiling and moving to executive C-suite, there needs to be a conscious effort to really ensure that some of these barriers that enable women really move forward are shattered. And of course, male perspectives and male behaviors in the workplace specifically also go a long way into creating either an enabling environment for women and for all really to thrive in the workplace, or also act as a stumbling block. So some of the typical barriers that women face in terms of career advancement are concerns about family, and somebody actually raised that in the question in the chat box not so long ago. Somebody was asking a question about how do you balance a family and also balance wanting to have a career and carrying your husband along and carrying your family along. And one of the things, I responded to that and saying you need a support system. You cannot do it without a support system, and that support system starts from your family right through to the network that you acquire for yourself as you progress. It's also about having open communication and really being true to yourself of what it is that you hope for yourself and what it is that you plan to achieve, and being confident enough to have those conversations with those who can support you and those who can help you in order to help you advance. So these are some of the things, lack of confidence, lack of assertiveness, being risk averse. As women, we're generally more risk averse than men are. And we tend to feel a lot of guilt, about trying to balance it all and trying to do it all. And so therefore, one of the, I would say on the flip side, is certainly having this support system. And I'll talk a bit more about that. And of course, lack of mentors and sponsors. Jumoke referred to the very important conversation around sponsorship, which is very different from mentoring, and which is something that I think now there are lots of mentoring programs, and I think the whole concept of mentoring is really growing, and I will speak very specifically to that shortly. But the issue of sponsorship is something that is still not understood or practiced as much, and that is certainly a culture that men over the years in the corporate world have benefited from, in the corporate world, in the public sphere, whatever it may be. And this is somewhere or another opportunity or another platform that women really need to tap into, this idea of sponsorship. And there's certainly skills, while it's really important to have technical skills in your career advancement, as you begin to move into leadership, and that's one of the things that we're talking about here today, is moving more women into leadership positions. And that is leadership positions across spheres, be it in the private sector or in the public sector. you begin to move away from technical competence into more specifically soft skills, because it's those soft skills. Your technical competence will speak for you from your entry level to about middle management level. But when you're looking to break that classing and really move into a position of leadership, it's about skills like strong communication, presentation skills, excellent interpersonal skills, decision-making skills, being able to take those tough decisions, building your confidence, being able to coordinate and really work with a team and bringing out the best in your team, the ability to delegate, the ability to understand cross-cultural practices, and then of course, emotional intelligence skills like intuition, trusting your intuition, which women, which is a skill that women really do very well at, and also skills like patience, empathy, and so many things, and of course networking, which is one of the things that we've spoken to here. So those are some of the barriers. We've talked about this. We've set the scene, or I've tried to set the scene by just looking at what are these statistics, of how women at work, how women are progressing in the workplace, and how they are faring in the year 2021. And then sort of now speaking around the barriers and what are those kinds of skills that will help us break these barriers. So specifically on mentoring, what is mentorship? Mentoring is one of those skills that certainly help women break this glass ceiling. Mentoring is certainly one of those skills that help us progress from stage to stage in our various careers. And what it is essentially a relationship between two people, right? It's a relationship, and it could be actually a relationship between many, but the core mentoring relationship involves a one-on-one individual relationship. And this is a relationship where two people, one with more experience, and it's not really about age, age sometimes plays a factor for sure. And of course, intergenerational mentorship usually means that there is a sort of a significant age difference or age gap between, with the person who's mentoring and the person who's being mentored. But it doesn't necessarily have to be so. I think the key, what is significant in mentorship is the experience, that there is a transfer from a more experienced person, or more, and in this case, I would say a woman, right? Being International Women's Day, focus on women's mentorship. Transfer of skills and knowledge from someone who's been there before, from someone who's walked that path that you choose to walk, whether it is in life or whether it is in career. Someone who is willing to share her story that helps you mitigate some of those pitfalls that she has passed on along the way. Someone who is trusted, an ally who believes in you and believes in what it is, in your goals and in your vision, and is willing to walk with you on that journey to help you articulate, shape, and execute that vision which you have for yourself. So mentorship really calls for selflessness, but then mentorship is a giving, as with any relationship, it's a two-way relationship. The person who is mentoring also stands to gain a lot from the person who she is mentoring. There's a cross-sharing of ideas. I recall Osayi saying that sometimes, with women's networks, she joins even networks where even if it's not her core focus, so for example, an entrepreneurship network, or even where the network is full of much younger women, because there's always something to learn. There's always something to keep you fresh. And you take the sum total of those experiences even into your mentorship relationship, because it keeps you current and it keeps you relevant and able to really connect with your mentor, with your mentee. So mentoring involves the ability to motivate from the side of the mentor, the ability to give advice, the ability to be genuinely interested in your mentee's success and help to shape that person's success, the ability to give direction, to do a bit of coaching, of course, to be a supporter, to help the person also achieve their goals, and some level of training. So a quick pause just to say, did you know that mentoring is one of the fastest growing techniques in human resource development currently? So I've spoken generally about mentoring and the process. According to 2004, mentoring is a long-term relationship that meets a development need and helps develop full potential and benefits all partners, both mentor, mentee, and the organization. And I would add that it benefits not just the organization at a micro level, but also the wider society, the country, and our nation. And at Whisker, our motto is our mission is to develop women to build a better nation. And we find that through the approach of structured mentoring over 13 years, we have really we make bold to say that we have placed in over 50 corporate organizations, or we have mentored women in over 50 corporate organizations in Nigeria today, who are now also paying it forward, by also being advocates for gender diversity, equity, making positive contributions in their workplaces, ensuring that they also pay it forward by not just advocating for positive workplace policies that enable women to stay and thrive in the workplace, but also contributing their own quota by coming back to become mentors in the program. Now, why is mentoring important? If you're not convinced already, let me say a few things. So mentoring is important because it develops skills and abilities of an individual through the other soft interventions like coaching, guiding, counseling. It also builds and develops self-esteem and confidence of mentees. And confidence cannot be this whole focus on confidence cannot be overemphasized, because it's halfway to the solution of why you don't find more women in public spaces, in leadership positions, going for the top jobs. Apart from socialization, when you move beyond that, it's also about building your own confidence, because I guess you really know what your self-worth is about. When you have somebody who believes in you and continues to, champion you and champion that, that sometimes that's within yourself, which you cannot see. And that is one of the powers of mentoring. Mentoring also broadens your professional network. It expands, even if it's just one person, it expands and enables and enriches you by +1. And in the best of situations, it increases you by +many. It also helps in promoting career advancement by preparing you, the mentee, for higher opportunities. There's a quote that says, "Opportunity needs preparedness." And that is exactly what mentoring does. It prepares you to be ready for those opportunities when they come calling. And of course, there's a cross exchange, as I said, between both mentor and mentee. So there's a benefit to mentorship, not just for the person being mentored, but also for the mentor. And typically, who is a mentor? So a mentor is someone who is a trusted. You have to have certain characteristics. A mentor is someone who is a trusted counselor or guide, must be credible, and willing to give of themselves and share of their insights, their perspectives, and wisdom. And someone who's really willing to be open. They should have a strong interest and concern for development of others and an ability to listen. Listen is such a critical skill. And it's one of the skills which we really develop at our programs at Whisker. They must be committed to the cause of mentoring. Mentoring requires time. They're informal and formal mentoring relationships, and more formal relationships, it just helps to put a structure to the process so that people are committed. Because sometimes, there are lots of informal mentoring relationships, and I think I'm a benefit of a lot of informal mentoring relationships. I never went through a structured mentorship program. There's, the journey continues, and there's still so much, so many opportunities. I heard Madame Osayi say she has mentors, and till today she's still being mentored. And mentorship is something that continues, and it's a lifelong journey. However, there's a purpose to structured mentorship, because it then means that there's a commitment, a contract between mentor and mentee, and there are frameworks just ensure that boundaries are not crossed, because there are a number of boundaries. We all need boundaries in life, and as human beings, we always tend to breach and broach things if we're not kept in a formalized or structured way. So therefore, while there are certainly benefits in informal mentorship, there are also benefits to structured mentorship. And of course, a mentee simply, I think the most important thing in being a good mentee is essentially being open and interested in learning and in listening. It's a lot to do with listening and learning and talking less. And of course, at the right time, interacting to give your own perspective, but it's really an opportunity to learn. Of course, you want, as we've said, it's a two-way approach, and the mentor is looking to also be enriched and to learn from the whole experience. So of course, it's a two-way, and communication needs to be open. But the most critical thing, I think, for a person going into a mentoring relationship as a mentee is really to be able to leave all those preconceived ideas, even of yourself and what it is you think, and just bring an open nature and a positive outlook towards the relationship. Obviously, for us at Whisker, is really focused on the career woman. And so having a positive outlook about what is possible for you in your career, and being, like I said, really open-minded about things that you may not even imagine yet for yourself, and coming to the mentoring relationship, the desire and willingness to accept challenges, to do the work that is required, because in structured mentorship programs, there will be work done, there will be work sets, there will be goals, there will be expectations, there will be things that your mentor may ask you to go back and do. So it's about being really open about and taking all that process presents and being committed to the program in a structured way. So mentors can really make a profound difference in the path of their mentees. And a good mentor will be able to identify areas of improvements that an individual can make to enable them climb that career ladder. And that is what I would say is that true power of mentorship. It's the relationship, it's the communication, it's the ability to hear firsthand the journey of somebody else who has gone, who is more experienced and who has gone before you, and be able to learn from those lessons, to take notes diligently. Obviously, another person's journey will not apply pari passu to your own journey, but it's important to take those lessons, and your mentor will also work with you, having learned your own story, to shape and help you shape that, to begin to shape a pathway for you that is not necessarily exactly in their steps, because no two footsteps can ever be the same, but shaping a path for you that could be uniquely your journey. Not all of us will rise to become the president of Nigeria. Not all of us, can only be one president in any case every 4 years or so. But there are so many other roles and positions of influence that we can all achieve. I think it was the last quote that Jumoke said that says, if somebody, I will paraphrase, if you're not given a seat at the table, bring your own folding chair, create your own opportunities, but you will not even sort of know what is available for you if you do not sort of really hold on to opportunities that other people may present for you and be open to those opportunities. And I think that is one of the most crucial powerful things about mentoring. Okay, I know the time is going, so I'll just quickly run through. A successful mentoring process really entails, the ideal, the process of being mentored, the implementation and knowledge transfer. There must be transfer of knowledge, and then that moves on to the wider aim, which is really about impact. As women, we must pay it forward. As women, we must pull other women up. So and that's what men do. So this is just something that as women we have to learn. And I hope everyone can still hear me. Just a sound check.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so we pay it forward, impacting our communities. And of course, we're called to not keep wonderful knowledge for ourselves, but to mentor the next generation of women leaders. And in that way, the cycle continues. So I won't spend much time. Of course, Whisker is an organization, we're a not-for-profit organization, and we are focused on developing the next generation of women for leadership in Nigeria, but also in Africa and indeed globally. Our mentees are spread, our alumni are spread across the world. Different things and great things. And one of the most relevant and important mentoring programs today in Nigeria. And we provide structured mentorship. Our focus over the last 13 years has been on providing structured mentorship and capacity building to a generation of women from entry level to mid-level, and now also for senior executives who want to really break into, break the glass ceiling and move to really, the levels of leadership, enable you to make policies and positive policies essentially for women in the workplace and for everybody really across all spheres. So we navigate, we help young women unleash their career potential, navigate their pathways, and obviously foster ambition. For us as women, ambition is not a dirty word. And so we help you foster those ambitions and nurture your dreams through a focused program And some we have programs for 3 months, you know, where you are in your career and what it is that you need. We obviously provide support networks and coaching and a range of other programs that really just help you thrive and help you navigate this very amorphous and now in the new normal, even more ambiguous world of work. In the last, you know, varied degree of impacts, I think more importantly is to say that 100% of our WISCA alumni attribute some level of their career success and growth to have a mentoring program. There have been other things, of course, that have contributed. Success for one came from just one intervention. Imagine what it is to even have a master's degree, for example. You spend 12 months acquiring a master's degree. For the rest of your life, if you have really done the work and you have really chosen the right specialist program, that will continue to have ripple benefits on your career as you grow. And it is the same for other things that women acquire that help to build, you know, continue to use part of that success to having in the program. And just to, you know, sort of highlight that point, don't take it from me, take it from one of our, a couple of our alumni at Ernst & Young, West Africa. And she says, within 4 months of completion of the WISCA program, I assumed a senior leadership position in a publicly quoted financial services organization. And from then on, I was a mentee in 2011. She was a WISCA mentee, and she joined then as head of human capital at Cornerstone Insurance. Today, she sits not board. She's also, like I said, a director at EY. And there are others. In the interest of time, our very own end of this program. And she actually testifies that it was that relationship and that guidance from her mentor back in 2014 that helped her make that decision to go for a program. And of course, her story is not the same as of today. Today, she's leading high impact projects across different states in Nigeria. In her own words, Rhoda says, WISCA helped me chart a clear path for my future and make the decisions I needed to achieve my goals. Being guided by experienced women leaders and gaining new insights for managing different challenges helped me become the woman I am today. I gained tools, knowledge, and a supportive, strong community. And I think that's really what mentorship is about ultimately. The success of a mentorship, of a good mentorship program, is that ability to see that growth in your career. It doesn't have to be propelled, it doesn't have to be fast, but it certainly helps to reduce that learning time and that learning curve on the journey. And our tried and tested approach, this is the way we run our mentorship program. Starts you, the mentee, setting your goals and what it is that you'd like to achieve. And then of course, periodically reflecting on those, initiating a development plan for what you intend to learn and achieve within that period of mentorship. And of course, going forward and looking ahead into, you know, what is it that you plan to achieve and developing a plan for the long term. So if you'd like to have more information, I'm sure my details will be available. You can just email me to find out more information about the WISCA mentoring program. But there is certainly a power. And over the years, I think the proof is in the pudding, that, you know, mentorship does play a significant role. I just want to say before I'm thrown out of the call, I can see Choma looking at me. Sponsorship is something that we don't talk enough about. Mentoring helps to set the scene and begin to build that capacity and opportunity for you. Sponsorship is somebody, could still be your mentor, but somebody who sees that opportunity, even when you don't see it yourself, and puts you forward for a role that you probably never thought you were ready for. And that is the power of sponsorship. And sponsorship comes with networking, network building, which is the conversation. But network is such a crucial part of our growth and our development as women. And I'd just like to leave you with a quote. It's a quote by Dr. Patty Fletcher, and it says, "There are thousands of millions of us out there just like you. Do not go through life believing that you are the only one who struggles with the things you do. Do not believe that your burden is yours alone to bear. Do not believe that there is no one out there who understands. Do not believe that your dreams of changing the world or charting your own path are not worthy. Do not believe that you lack the power, the knowledge, or the strength." So I'd just like to say thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak and again to be part of this event. I hope we're all charged, all thinking about what. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Fabia.
Over to you,
Thank you for
Choma.
that. Oh, okay. Thank you very much. I think I would agree with you that mentoring plays a huge role. I think I'm a true testament to that. There's always someone that has walked the road or path that you are willing to walk. So it's always easier to have people who have walked that path guide you. So I think it's key. And I think we women should also look out for other women or women that have gone before us to be able to guide us through the road, the path. I really learned a lot from that one. So thank you. I want to say a very big thank you to all our speakers. It has been really inspiring session. I have learned a lot. I have learned new things, and I hope that you have as well. This is just to charge us to go out and then choose to challenge stereotypes or gender norms that still limit us from achieving our goals. So we'll take the questions, and there are a lot of questions coming up for our speakers. But before we go into that, I would like us to quickly take the group photo. And after the group photo, we would move in straight to the questions. So we'll take the group photo now, and I would just like us to turn on our videos and then just do the choose to challenge pose. And we can quickly do that. Yay.
Right hand or left?
So are we ready?
Right hand or left hand?
Right hand. So the right hand. Yeah. So are we ready?
Sorry, give me a minute. I don't know what's wrong with my video.
Okay. Okay, so we're waiting for Rhoda. Sorry, we're just waiting for Rhoda, and she'll join us now.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. I'm sorry for that. So we can see you, Rhoda.
This right?
All right, we'll have it now in a few seconds, and we have it.
Wait, do we have everyone?
Omobolanle is not there right now.
Oh, okay.
Nisha had mentioned that she was going to be in a meeting.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Okay, then, so let's have it again. Let's all smile. Yeah. Choma, you have wonderful teeth. Come on.
Good.
Yeah, we have it. Thank you, everybody.
All right, thank you, Remy, for that one. Okay, so we'll proceed straight to the questions and answer session. So there are a lot of questions here, and I'll just run through them one after the other. So this one says, what age range of women can access these funds and resources when it's finally made available? So I think the question is there an age range for people to access funds? Do you have to be at some age limit? So I think, Osayi, this one, I think it's for you.
Possible to have a few of the questions together, because I also have to run off. So if we can have like 3 questions, I can answer them all at the same time, please.
Okay, at once. Okay. Okay. So that's the first one is, what's the age range of women? What age range of women can access these funds and resources when it's finally made available? I think the second question is, after researching for sources for funding, how can one reach out to these organizations? What are the processes one needs to take to access funding? I think the third one is, how can young NGOs access funds? And the other one is, with shrinking funding opportunities, how can we NGO position ourselves, especially with a female as fundraising officers?
Okay, all right.
So I think that's it.
Oh, thank you so much, everyone, for the questions. Let me start with the first one. There's no age limits to getting funding. I mean, it depends on what kind of funding you're getting, but there's no age limits, of course, like anything else, you have to be above the age of 18, you have a business, and every organization has their criteria. So there's no one criteria. I mean, if you go and look at Foundation's criteria for getting grants, and if you look at a Ford Foundation or Tulele Foundation, very, very different. So you also have to understand what their focus is. So our focus is different. Our pillars are different. Ours is enterprise, leadership, governance, and then we also have environment. But every other organization can be looking at different things. So you have to look at all those criteria as well. And there's so many health. I forgot to mention health as well. There are so many criteria that are very different. So you have to go and do all the groundwork, ask questions, go online, Google them, find out who falls under what you are doing first. And then once you do that, then look at what their criteria are. Ours, you must have run your business for over 2 years. Some people, they don't really care. We need to have some form of assessment in terms of finance. You have to have an account. You have to have governance structures in place. Some organizations do not care. Some people have much more than us as well. So you check all those things to be very precise. For a young organization that wants to get funding, I always say, first of all, like I mentioned when I was talking, make sure that your foundation is secure. That's everything that needs to be done. So I always tell people, before you start, go and look for the criteria that are out there and begin to use those criteria to build your organization. If someone is saying that they want 2 years and then you have to have been registered with HACEY, then go and register. If they are saying that you need some governance structure, then look for 1 or 2 people to join your team. If they are saying you should do that, so put some things in place so that by the time you are ready to ask for the funding, your system is in place for it. But then also there's some people that you can actually send messages. Someone says, how do I reach out to people? Sometimes you can do like us, we have an information desk. Send an information to the question to the information email, asking what is your process flow, what do you do, what are your circles. Somebody will always answer. A lot of organizations will answer you. They might tell you that they don't do unsolicited grant making, but at least they will answer the question. But I mentioned earlier, there are quite a number of different groups out there that you can join. I can give you a lot of information. There's even Donors for Africa that is run by Chidi, and she has quite a few things out there as well. So, all these things are processes like every other SME and every other small organization. Begin to build your processes in place, begin to put your foundations in place, begin to check to make sure that everything is documented properly. So even when you tell them that you have been running for 5 years, you can have something to show. Separate your accounts, personal and business accounts, separate it completely. Don't put your hand into it. Make sure that even if you cannot afford a finance person internally, look for an external person that you can once in a while or once a month come in, look at your books, check out your papers, give you something that is kind of audited, and that will help you in the long term. I hope that answers the questions. Thank you, Chioma.
Thank you. I think you did justice to that. So thank you very much. Moving to the next question, I think Fabia, this one is for you. So the first question says, talking about mentoring, how can one select the best mentors? So what are the traits to look out for in someone before you make him or she your mentor? And also, how can I join Whisker mentorship program? Okay, so I think
Fabia has dropped out. She has a meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But mine
okay.
was moved by 15 minutes. But I mean, anybody that needs to know about Whisker, all their information is online. So my advice is that you go on to their websites and send a message to Whisker. They do answer all questions. And I don't know if she's back on. I think the other question was about finding a mentor.
Yes.
That's how do you find?
What are the traits to look out for when you're trying to find a mentor?
I mean, looking for traits is it's something that is really, I mean, for me, I always look for people that I feel that they've achieved. And I have one mentor that has made serious mistakes in his life. And when I mean serious mistakes, really huge mistakes, but I feel that he still has a lot to share. He has a lot to give. And in terms of what I want to do later, he's done it before. So you have to decide what works for you. To find a mentor is not someone, I don't think it's you leave the choice into somebody else's hand. You decide what are you looking for. And then also remember Fabia had mentioned that there are some structured mentoring processes in place. So sometimes if you are a bit worried about just calling somebody, I mean, you might not be able to reach out to Omobolanle because you really don't know her. And if you send a message, Omobolanle might tell you that, I mean, she doesn't know who you are too, and she might not be able to give you all that you require. So sometimes you might also just join that structured one that enables you to find people that have been vetted by an organization, which Whisker does. I think Winbiz also does the same thing. So when they vet and then they normally will give you a form to put what your focus is, what you're looking for, why you want a mentor, what you need the person for, and then they find a mentor that they feel that is good for you. So that might help you at least to start the process. And then you can now, along the way in your life, start looking for other people that can hold you and take you through a process as well, based on what Fabia said. I hope that helps. I'm giving you my own example of finding, and I run quite a few mentoring programs as well. So I know that those things are important, but you just have to find someone. Rhoda, I mean, you've been talking about this thing for so many years. It's so essential for us to be handheld and so important. I keep on saying we cannot work in isolation. I know how much Rhoda has helped me with along my own journey as ACT Foundation. And this is life. Nobody knows everything and nobody has the key to every door. So find someone that can help you. Sometimes, even if you don't have the key to one door, the person has the key to two other doors, and then you have fun them along the way. And let us all work together. So look for the mentor and just do the work. Don't depend on Chioma to help you to give you all the solutions. Go and do the work online as well. I hope that helps. Thanks a lot, Chioma.
You're on mute, Chioma.
So thank you. Sorry about that. Thank you very much for that one. Thanks a lot. So I think last question.
I think Osayi needs to leave now. So thank you so much, Osayi.
Okay.
Sincerely appreciate it.
Right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Okay. I think I can just answer one more question that I see here.
Okay.
It says, what can be done to help women with low self-esteem?
Self-esteem,
I think that's
yes.
tied to mentorship. Find someone you can look up to who can help you build that skill and help you find the right path for you. And I think that's the first step you need to take as an individual to achieving your goals and your dreams.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Rhoda, for that one. So like we said, or most of the speakers have said, the power is majorly in our hands. So to move forward, we have to do the work as well. So it's not about being relaxed or sitting still. We have to move the work. We have to raise our voices. We have to be the ones going forward and shouting and propelling ourselves forward. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining this webinar. It has been an insightful one. I've learned a lot, and I hope you have as well. So let's jump on the Choose to Challenge hashtag. That's the hashtag for this year. So Choose to Challenge. Go out on your social media and spread the word. Choose to challenge social bias. Choose to challenge gender stereotypes. Let's make noise. Let's raise our voices. Let's speak out against gender norms that still limit women and girls. So I would like to call on Opeoluwa Ademola for the closing remark.
thank you everyone for joining us for this great webinar. And we sincerely want to appreciate each and every one of us for taking out our time, to join this webinar. We've heard from our seasoned speaker, and we as women must collectively and individually ensure that we work to raise other women up as leaders so that we can thrive in male-dominated sectors. We must choose to challenge, gender roles and gender inequality. We must speak up for other women. We must speak up against all forms of violence, against women. We must speak up for women's rights. We must ensure that we are our sister's keeper. And it's not business as usual. So this is a call to spur us into actions, that will place women at the global scene. So thank you very much, everyone, for attending and participating in this webinar today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Akweluwa, for that beautiful closing remark. So on the final note, I want to say a big thank you to all our panelists for joining us today, for sharing from their wealth of knowledge, for educating us and for spurring us into action. And also thank you all for joining this conversation today. I want us to take this conversation out of this webinar. Let's go out, like I said earlier, and spread the word and raise our voices, and then use the hashtag IWD 2021 and choose to challenge whatever gender stereotype you wish to challenge. So thank you very much, everyone, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you, and then have a great day. Thank you very much.